Hey everybody, it's Ellie here again. Today we're working on the Oakenstead lot in the Sage Estates neighbourhood of Willow Creek. As usual, this is base game only with no custom content. This is also my longest video yet, so please just sit back, relax and enjoy the build. The inspiration for this build was from old style English manners, at least it was on the outside. The inside is mostly modern and I even put in an indoor pool. I also got to use freezers again on this build, which I really enjoyed, and I renamed this lot to Legacy Stead, as this is usually the lot I use for legacy challenges, and I think I did really well with making a variation of rooms to fit this theme. In terms of colour scheme for the exterior, I was stuck on what to go for. I ended up using tan accents in the freezers, windows and doors, which I thought worked well, so I ran with that. I thought the brick platform contrasted with it quite nicely, so overall I was happy with how it turned out. For the fencing around the property, I didn't want there to be too much, as I didn't want the garden to be too big, and thankfully it did end up all looking okay. I'm now just touching up a few bits with the structure of the property, such as doors and flooring in the outdoor pool. I also pop in some basic wallpaper, tiles and flooring to make things easier when decorating later. the structure out of the way, we now move on to the garden and landscaping. I decided, because we had an indoor pool, to make a giant fountain in the back garden. I put in quite a lot of jets to make it appear super fancy, which I really liked. I also paved over the majority of the back garden and made a little sectioned off area for a set of monkey bars on some grass, which I place in a bit. I then put in some trees as well as some shrubs leading up to the front door, which I feel is a classic move and never gets old. Before moving on to putting furniture in the garden, I do also do the classic terrain paint. There's the basic outdoor furniture, barbecue, tables and planters, and I also put in some sun loungers and that very controversial anniversary hot tub. I also pop in some outdoor lighting. One thing I do forget, however, is a mailbox and outside bins, so if you do decide to download this lot, I'm sorry, but you'll have to place those in yourself. As usual, we're starting the interior with the kitchen. I wanted this to look kind of rustic and decided to use the darker coloured cabinets for this. Where this is the most expensive neighbourhood, I decided to use higher quality appliances. I didn't use the most expensive, however, as the design didn't really fit the vibe. A kitchen island was a must with this house, and I really enjoyed putting it in, as well as coupling those bar stools with it specifically. With the appliances and cabinets put in, I pop in a few decorations such as the fruit bowl, kitchen roll, knives, chalkboard and aprons, and I do at least remember to put a bin in this one. It's time for a cheer, as there are actually 4 bathrooms in this property. The first one I'm working on is the family bathroom, as the rest are en suites. It's very common in the UK to have bathrooms downstairs, so I thought this one wasn't too out of place. I went for a beige/brown colour scheme for this one, and I thought it worked really well. And we've got a shower tub combo too, in case you have pets, toddlers or infants in the house. The first ensuite, I went for a pink theme. I used another shower tub combo, as those truly are the best inventions in The Sims. This one is also slightly modern, as I really did want a variety in styles just due to the amount of bathrooms in this build. Overall, I thought this bathroom was very cute and one I wouldn't mind having myself. For the next ensuite, I went with a light blue colour scheme, and it was more traditional furniture that I used. I didn't use countersinks for this one, and instead I used a freestanding sink. I don't usually use them, as I like using the counters for storing decorations, but in this case I felt it worked very well with the theme of the room. The final ensuite, I wanted to have an almost rainforest theme, green and natural. I used my favourite shower tub combo for this, and again went more traditional style in terms of amenities. The countersink was used again, and I had to use one of the end counters to fit it in properly, which I didn't mind all too much. Overall, I really liked this ensuite and felt it gave good vibes. On to the bedrooms, we're starting with the master bedroom as usual. I knew pretty early on what I wanted to do regarding the bed and the wardrobes, so it didn't take as long this time around. I wanted it to complement the ensuite, so I went for my favourite bed type with the light wood and green vines. I also put in a fireplace because apparently that's my thing now. I put in a little sitting area, as I like to fill space in bedrooms that way. I think it just always fits in a bedroom and it's a nice addition. I put in a desk as a vanity with a nice mirror above it, as well as the decorations of perfume and nail polish. My favourite thing about this bedroom is that I was able to make a walk-in wardrobe. I used the wall decorations of hanging shelves, which I thought worked really well as both feminine and masculine shoe racks. I almost put an ottoman in there, but changed my mind and replaced it with a base game dresser. I actually managed to use them in every bedroom this time around, so I was so proud of myself there. The next room I'm doing is for a fashion student. I didn't know it at first, but as I started building up the furniture, I felt it really fit the theme quite well. I'm not gonna lie, I really love the pink furniture in The Sims, and I think it's always nice to use. I went for a modern theme here to match with the ensuite, and I liked how it turned out. I also put in some movie posters, sketches, and a digital camera. I feel like the sim in this room would grow up to be a costume designer in the film industry, if anything. On to our third bedroom. This here is a grandparents' room, though I was more specifically thinking grandma. It's a nice private room for her twilight years, fit with a fireplace, bookshelf and telly. I went for a light blue theme here, and I'm only thinking on reflection that she should have been one of the residents to have their own ensuite. Sorry, Grandma. I wish that The Sims would come out with a retirement living pack with like mobility aids, adaptations, grab rails and things like that. There's not really much to do with Elder Sims, and I kind of wish we had more. Either way, I hope Grandma likes her room and that she finds it comfortable to live in. Our fourth bedroom here took some time to figure out the furniture floor plan, but I eventually figured it out. I based this bedroom on the personality of one of my best friends, who is a self-employed artist and graphic designer. She has a chaotic vibe about her, so I went for a chaotic artist theme for the room. I used the bathroom rug for a floor sheet around the easel, which I place in later, and I thought that worked really well. I also used the bed, which is Van Gogh themed, and I went specifically for the sunflower design because I wanted to do a yellow room. My friend is also part of the queer community like myself, so I did also pop in her pride flag there too. Overall, I was really fond of this room, but I think that's because I put so much of her personality into it. The final bedroom in this build is a kid's room. I was torn on whether to make it a toddler room or not, but ended up making it a general child's room. I used my favourite bunk bed desk combo and placed a small amount of toys about. The kids always get a Blarfy. I felt that this would be an academically focused kid, so I put a science table in as well. I also liked being able to use the wall decals later, as I don't usually get an opportunity to use them. I went for a blue colour theme in this one, just to match the ensuite, though I feel bad it wasn't traditional furniture to match the bathroom style. Overall though, I really liked it and felt it was a nice kids' room. With the bedrooms finally over, we're moving on to the living room. It was a basic living room in my opinion. I went with the usual layout of fireplace surrounded by sofas. There was a bit of difficulty with the colour scheme, but I ended up with a neutral colour scheme, which I was happy enough with. We've got a telly above the fireplace, as well as some bookshelves. There's some classic skill building items in here, such as the chessboard, and I decided to fill up the rest of the space with a large piano. As in my mind, all fancy houses have a piano, regardless if someone plays it or not. I also popped in a few decorations and accent tables, as well as a stereo. Overall, despite the basicness of this room, I felt it worked really well and I was happy enough with it in the end. So I actually ended up putting the dining room in the wrong room, but after a bit of reflection I thought it worked quite well where it was, as we still also had the seating in the kitchen for eating as well. I looked up some inspiration this time around for dining rooms, so this one wasn't just basic. I ended up merging a few mirrors to make a fancy wall mirror, and I shuffled the door around to put in a hutch, folding screen and plant. The paintings and the rug put the cherry on the cake, and overall I was very happy with how this dining room turned out. Instead of a study, I decided to put in a bar room, as I don't usually get to use bars that often. I just used a standard small bar and popped in some appropriate decoration. Where the room is very small, I don't put any activities in there, but I do put a wall-mounted telly as well as some books on a small side table. Overall, I thought it was small but effective. In our final main room, we have a child's playroom. I really enjoyed putting it in my other family home builds, and though it was originally meant to be where the dining room is, I'm happy with how it was here. I put in a lot of toys and skills so that the kids can complete whichever aspiration you choose. I love the doll houses as well, and I love that they're a good space filler too. I've never used or placed the activity table before, so I'm hoping there are some tabletop games that kids can play on there too. Finally, I just pop in a sofa so that they have something to sit on to watch the telly or read their books. Just quickly before we move on to the hallways, I'm putting some stuff in for the pool, so I pop in a ladder, some lights, as well as some pool decor at the bottom as well. Now we've got the hallways. There's a lot of art going on in this hallway, including 2 suits of armour. I knew they were going to be in here when I was getting the inspiration with the building type, so I was excited to put them where they are. We've got some classic coat hooks and shoe racks, as well as some mirrors. We also place in some plants at the base of the stairs, which I thought looked really nice and fancy. There's also a sofa downstairs in front of one of the windows. I don't know why, but I really love putting sofas in large hallways. They fill up the space nicely and it adds a nice relaxing vibe to the area. Upstairs is more of the same, a lot of art, a couple of sofas and mirrors, and I also pop in some additional lighting for the darker areas. and as usual, we throw in some rugs to tie the place together. Finally, I'm popping in the curtains. Where all the windows were the same, this was really easy, and I just changed the colour after placing them all to match the theme of the room that they're in. And that's the complete build. It comes in at just over 255,000 simoleons and is live on the gallery under the name Legacy Stead. As always, thank you so much for watching, especially with how long this one was. If you want to like and subscribe, that would be awesome, but regardless, I hope you all have a wonderful day and enjoy the free cam view.